Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon at 1:30. And thank you so much for the opportunity to host this Founders Day celebration today. My name is Murray Humphries. I'm a professor of wildlife biology in the Department of Natural Resource Sciences here on Macdonald campus. We've got a special beginning, but I'm just going to quickly introduce Founders Day and remind you that Founders Day to us, and I'm chair of Founders Day committee, so it's my honor to present on behalf of the committee, is not necessarily a celebration of a single man, but rather of his vision for what was possible and the catalyst for everything that's followed. And that it's about growth and learning and vision that changes and evolves over time. And this year we've reached out to our campus community and received valuable feedback about the future, who we are and where we're going, and who's included and impacted by the work we do at this campus. So our hope is that this isn't a one-day event, but rather the beginning of an ongoing dialogue amongst community members about how we continuously improve who we are and what we do. And so it's our honor to have an opening today from Trina Delormier, professor in School of Nutrition and Associate Director of the Center for Indigenous Peoples Nutrition and Environment, and an elder and knowledge keeper from Kanienke'há, the Haudenosaunee community on the South Shore of Montreal, and our host community, as this is Haudenosaunee territory. So I'll pass it to Trina and then Amelia for an opening.
And as Amelia reminded me that she's going to be saying Ohenten Kariwatekan, which means the words that come before all else. So before I say any more words, I'm going to let Amelia start.
So the Mosius got Nikarihuasa. They go do the Ujats, Tanu la Discareoga, you will get the Rota. Jotkugi on Nona Tenant, they do what the Jatoro get Onati, or Stumhaga, when I heads to Nene, the Duanados near Ohenten Kariwatekan. Onagia Kadaso, Giga. Togazu watu datsege onakti angiro waduga gadaso giga lehtinu waradu tinijuga zuat kodu dano zuat amusa de giga de doanadu jutku gadaso nene de kenu waradu ne itinista yunta de genealogios kats zinja gwegu jagot kawa gangaya nene aiduat stena yagodagari dege tonio tunigwani gora. Tanu sego oya onaktia kenadu galunes nene ungwe sua tanu ne itinista yundade agamha jogu de yagoyo denene ayugo da gari de getonio tunigwanigura. Tanu oni sego dogazu watu datsike onakti de wahwe yarane gagaye nene gane garunyu ne do watsta nigi ai tua nigira tanu agwego yoskats de wat gatos tana oni nene gatkato gigarwa lunes nene kuju sua dano ne otera sua tonio tunigwanigura. Dano segu oni onakti kenado garunes nene de doanados ohunde sua dano oni ne oti dan agu a yorioskat yugatunde jiniwan niziles jogde radilone de ayawiski jogde una dakari tege tanu yugatsunoni ti yugatunde dinde wadu yuskats de wat gatos tonio tunigwanigura. Tanu oni segu onaktia kenadu garunes nene de wat gatos ne ayawis ohunde sun adano ne otera sun adano nene gagaya nene de wat gatos ne unukwa sun azega Kanienke'há ne kwa lutsta nene ayuna da garitege ayawiski rama o dana kamo oni ayuka da garitege tonio tunigwanigura. Tanu segu oni onaktia kenadu ga lunes nene de duanados ne John Hekwa nene asaniha di radinos reto nene honesty un ozera dana ozeheta sua nene kwa Kanienke'há ga lutsta dana aido ke dano de duat kanisa dano de duat Tununi joke de what catus, Tonio, Toniquanicura. Tano oni segu onactia kenadu galunes nene de donatus ne gudirio. Ne do idoax nene raudi waru tano joke de ayawas ayaw quatsanuni ke tano ayo renuha onia una da garite ke Tonio Toniquanicura. Tano segu oni onactia kenadu nene galunes nene de wat katus ene wadu kahi sua tano ne oni ne yoskat de wat katus yoreti karun ugire sua tano ne karunda sua asikano noha noni ayuna da kari de ke tonio tuni guanicura tano segu oniktia kenadu gana de wadus nene joke neka garakwa nene tuhusku ata tu dano de rotarihadu iga giga ne te donados ne itini stayum tade aya uslam oni joke de hoyo de tonio tuni guanicura tano oni sego onaktia kenadu garones nene de wat kahtus nene kayeri ni kawirake tano oni ne iti sotagun radiweras Azikar noha oni rodiote joke da yuko dakari de Tonio Toniquanicura. Tano oni sego onactia kenadu gagaya nene doadatus ne iti sutane asatanka garakwa. Agamha oni joke de yakuyote nene garunes arokoga tuhunes nene radiksa go agamha genutus katke adinagare de Tonio Toniquanicura. Tano oni joskat sedovat katos tiga nena justi joji stu kolonio nene tini wasundes to saganaka aido wasri jage aya weski nuha oni dedo kanisa tano dona awado te tinu rado ona toniore wakadri wat kweni ona gi akahi weto ka wado stuma ka wano hetstu giga aido wat kanisa giga ka ikwa Onigi Tony Ore Wakadri wat Queni, the Quadundi Utats for this Kareva can you beat a road to Gawado, none of the Wasa Sukawado, Stagostum, Gawano heads to Tokini Kunyawa, she was Quadamusa de to
Nyawa. We have still 8 minutes. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what Ohenten Kariwatekan is?
Oh, you
want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
So Nyawa Amelia Nyawa de Guadundi for offering us Ohenten Kariwatekan, and for those of you who are interested, I would encourage you to look up on the internet. It's called The Words That Come Before All Else, and you can find many explanations, interpretations. And I think you could hear in the cadence of the words, there's a repetition, and the repetition of Weagung Aska, Adide Wahwehnuni, Ngwani Gorda. We bring our minds together as one, and we give our thanks and appreciation. We start with all of the people, and then the waters, and then the fish life, and then we move to the root plants and the medicinal plants, and Jonhekwa, the foods, our life-sustaining elements. Actually, they're the things that sustain our lives. So there's a relationship there. So she goes through all of the ecosystem, but it's more than that. It's that we share a spirit of creation. So there's a spiritual component to this. Acknowledge we all come together and bind our minds together at the beginning of important events to remember our responsibilities to creation, that, creation sustains us and we have a responsibility. And, it's around these ideas that we bind our minds together. And that's why at the ending of an event, even though it's going to be a short ceremony now, we'll close with unbinding our minds so that we go away. And that's my teachings of it so far. There's much, much more, and often depending on the opening, whether it's a 4-day ceremony or like one today, the way that it's said will reflect the context, and sometimes it can go on for hours as people bring their own interpretation to how we should be thankful and grateful for our lives, for creation, and that we remember that so it can continue for our future generations. And before I finish my words, I wanted to acknowledge Degwadundi because she's a good friend of mine. I went to school with her daughter, actually. We were talking about that earlier, but we've been colleagues doing research together since 1994. So she's a community researcher, part of a research partnership that we do here in Kahnawake called the Kahnawake Schools IVs Prevention Program, which has served as a model for how to do partnership research with Indigenous communities. And a lot of how we operate is rooted in Haudenosaunee or Iroquois. Some people refer to us, but that's not in our language. Haudenosaunee means the people of the longhouse. You know, so we draw from those values, principles, and lessons to figure out how best to make decisions and partnerships, and how do we continue to learn from those. We're still learning. We just recently had discussion about how do we integrate ceremony meaningfully and respectfully into research. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it back to Murray, and I'm looking forward to these events this morning. Go on.
Thank you so much, Trina and Amelia, for that opening. It's really meaningful, and I can certainly speak to my gratitude for all your teachings and learnings, Trina, that you've offered, and Amelia for her presence here today and helping us to open in a good way. And look forward to the closing as well. So kind of introduce Founders Day, and it's of course a celebration of our founder, Sir William Macdonald, and his birthday, born on February 10th, 1821. This is a special event this year in that it also coincides with the McGill bicentenary, celebrating 200 years of existence as an institution. So this is a meaningful day today for us to look backwards in time, to kind of re-examine our present, and most importantly, I think, envision our future, our collective future together, and where we want to go. It's a real privilege to be chair of the Founders Day Committee, and a lot of folks pictured here have put in a lot of effort today for this ceremony, and the graphic artist that you're illustrator that you're about to meet, and all these different components of the day. And thanks everybody here on the slide, and a special thanks to the communications team and Kathy and Mel and some of the folks from the advancement office, Anna and Ron, for all their contributions along the way, and the members. Special and determined thanks go to the Macdonald Stewart Foundation for the support they provide for the campus and for this day in particular. We're privileged to have members of the foundation here today, including Bruce Bolton, the executive director of the Macdonald Stewart Foundation. And it's also a meaningful day for the Founders Day in this way as well, because Bruce Bolton will retire effective July 1st, 2022. For more than half of the century, Bruce has played a key role in the areas of culture, especially museums, education, historical heritage on national and international scene. Next July, he will continue his valuable contribution to the Macdonald Stewart Foundation by putting to use his extensive corporate memory, which will benefit the transition and also the public and private partners of the foundation, both at home and abroad. So it's a sincere thanks from the Macdonald campus community to Bruce Bolton and the Macdonald Stewart Foundation for all the support that they've shown to our campus over the years. And it's also a welcome to Thomas Leslie. In anticipation of Bruce's departure, Thomas Leslie has been appointed Associate Executive Director of the Foundation. Originally from Halifax, Thomas has been the Executive Director of the Canadian International Organ Competition since 2012. Prior to joining that, he earned awards as an administrator of the Faculty of Medicine at McGill University, so he's no stranger to us at McGill. And over the past 20 years, he's built a concurrent career as a Canadian Forces Reserve officer, presently holding the rank of Major. Thomas has a music degree from McGill and Wilfrid Laurier, and an MBA from the University of Paris, Dauphine. On behalf of the board and the Macdonald Stewart Foundation, we wish Bruce every success in his future projects, knowing he will be available when needed. And Major Leslie, we look very forward to working with you in the years ahead. So thanks very much to the members of the foundation for being with us today. Okay, it's kind of my honor to, as chair of the Founders Day Committee, to kind of introduce you to what we've been working on for a featured event and profile for this year's Founders Day. Many of you may have seen us set up this morning in the Macdonald campus, the Macdonald Stewart lobby. Others might have been able to join online and see some of the goings on, and for others, this might be new to you. But what we've been doing over the last week is soliciting input from the Macdonald campus community through an online forum and in person this morning for suggestions about parts of our history, our past, to celebrate and to acknowledge, and in some cases to move beyond who we are at present and where we're going in the future. And through this, we've developed with Jordana Globerman, who's also with us today, a graphic illustrator who's described these panels, and we'll have the opportunity to introduce you to Jordana in a moment after I run through each of the panels and the elements. So I'm just going to now, for this part of the presentation, just kind of go through each of these 7 panels in turn and just describe some of the elements that are celebrated and identified there. The plan for these panels, and they're very much a work in progress. It was interesting to hear Trina and Amelia refer to learning. And we're an institution of learning. We learn as we go, we make mistakes, we do it over, we do it better. You'll see some mistakes in these panels, including we've got the dean's name currently spelled wrong with 1 N. So these are very much a work in progress. We make them better over time. And so as you see these, realize this is a draft. And if you see additional elements that can be added or things that should be corrected or re-inspired, that's, I think, the nice thing about the way they've been drawn is that they're open to change and improvement over time. The plan is once we have working versions of these panels ready to print, we would like to print, and the recommendation of the Founders Day Committee, if the campus community is supportive of that, is that they would be on display in the hallway between Macdonald Stewart and the Raymond in those cabinets. So I'm going to run through each. The first of the panels is Macdonald campus early days, celebrating our founder, Sir William Macdonald, born February 10th, 1831, and his original vision for the campus of farm and home school as being the fundamental institutions of our country, and how do we elevate these at the university level. I think his perception at the time was that there was schools of engineering and chemistry and physics, but the fundamental institutions were underrepresented in university level education. How do we elevate them? And from that vision came Macdonald College, initially as 3 schools: the Faculty of Agriculture, the School of Household Science, and the School for Teachers, located on this beautiful place that we all call home now. The next panel is meant to celebrate our path makers, some people that to us as a committee and as a community that have identified these people and places and things that have helped to lead the way for others. In the top left corner, Dr. Ernest Melville Duport, the first African-American professor in Canada, was a professor of entomology in 1920s. Margaret Newton, the first woman with a PhD in agriculture that went on to an international career on wheat rust and farm innovation. Florence Farmer and Helen Nielsen that took the school focus on household sciences into the sciences, into the dietetics and nutrition, the professionalization and the science, making that study more science oriented. Earl Crampton, an early driver of One Health approaches, combining human health with animal health, a shared focus on both animals and people and their nutrition. And John Moxley and all his innovation with dairy analysis services and what turned into Velacta as kind of a nationally impactful program for milk quality analysis. Some important things along the way. CBC National Farm Radio Forum that originated on Mac campus and through the 50s was a major national feature of agriculture, knowledge, and sharing on the radio. The famous campus water tower, 1905 to 2017, Macdonald Dorothy, she might be looking more Holstein. I think she might have been an Ayrshire and had the kind of record for lifetime milk production in that era. Canada's first cloned pigs in 2007 from a professor in animal science. Macdonald rhubarb, a variety, a cultivar rhubarb that's still available for sale, and very lots of different, just representative of barley and other cultivars and seeds that were developed on this campus. Famous Taja the cat that our faculty hall is named after, and the centennial stamp in 2006 that recognized Macdonald campus as 100 years. And then our first principals and deans, starting with James Robertson, and you'll notice above them each of a little profile of some of the research areas and areas of innovation that they led, from agriculture and cheese and dairy through to discoloration of fish in a food science context, from microbes through to livestock, through to W.H. Britton and all the lovely trees that are on campus, and the Morgan Arboretum. H.D. Dion in soil science, and A.C. Blackwood in microbiology, and Lewis Lloyd in animal production, and Roger Buckland in the poultry center that is his legacy, and Deborah Buzzard in the strawberries, and Chandra Madramuthu and his influence in water and the brace. Also the World War I memorial oak trees within our campus. Now, kind of our present people, and first and foremost are the students that define our place. 1,200 some undergraduate students and all the programs that they study, and more than 500 graduate students and 44 postdocs, and advancing knowledge in areas that are identified within our current strategic plan. 96 faculty, 17 lectures, 73 research associates, 87 admin and support staff. Thank you, Joanne, one of those admin and support staff, for supplying those numbers. And we'll talk about the show ring in a moment. Chairs and directors, Raj Dugavadi, Linda Wykes, Brian Driscoll, Reza Salavati, Martina Stromvik, Vladishav Adamchuk, and Yerajan Yalavan. And our current dean, Anya Geitman, sorry about the missing N, Anya, we'll get on it, and Marilyn Scott, Associate Dean of Academics, Salwa Carboni, Associate Dean Research, Valerie Orsat, Associate Dean Student Affairs, and Jean-Benoit Charon, Associate Dean Graduate Education. You'll have noticed by now a turtle featured, and that's a Haudenosaunee representation of turtle as earth, as land, a reminder of the continuity of that presence and the importance of land when we're thinking about reconciliation and accessibility of this campus to all, and benefit from this campus to all. Then, and this is the most exciting part, these panels were drawn this morning. So at the start of this morning, they were blank, and through interaction with our campus community, as people joined us in the hallways at Macdonald Stewart, as people submitted the online form over the last few days, as people submitted ideas on Zoom chat from a link in this morning, this came to be populated. What are things to be appreciated at Macdonald campus now? And you see everything from the squirrels to the Centennial Center, to the Mac Market front and center, to the lovely lilacs, to McGill's land acknowledgement, the love of plants, the serenity of the campus volleyball court, smart, kind, and ready to change the world, and Paddle Mac, and apples from the orchard. And then the next was name one word, one color, and one emotion that best describes Macdonald campus to you. And through the eyes and ears and mouths of our students, this is what was populated this morning: green and yellow and vibrant and fun and beautiful and rolling, a small community, so close-knit, exciting, nature, sustainable, family. Brick orange, we were trying to get a color other than green and highlighting the colors of the buildings and how you see them red. I'm sure all of you have seen them from the air. And then forward-looking. Where are we going as a campus over the next 5 years? The bridge over the Highway 20 and better access to the farm and arboretum, more green energy, modernization, growth, more space kept coming up for many, many students this morning. No cars, no streets, better access to the water, better pedestrian paths, more seating, eating and study space, accessibility, those kinds of things. And then we asked for a longer term vision. What about 2022 to 2222? It's almost impossible to imagine the next 200 years of McGill University and Macdonald campus. Where will we be at those times so distant? Green campus and access to nature and more diverse food options and leading sustainability and environmental science and addressing the needs of marginalized communities. Modern but mindful is a lovely way of thinking of it, grow and change. So with that brief overview, it's my honor to be able to introduce Jordana Globerman, whose work has been shown on these previous images. She was so busy drawing this morning. She's physically located in Ottawa, so through the wonders of technology, we had zoomed her into the Mcdonald lobby this morning, and we're just really thrilled to give Jordana the opportunity to come from behind the drawing and introduce herself and say hello, and perhaps some reflection on what she's learned about her campus through its illustration.
Sure, thanks. Hi, Murray. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me today. First of all, I thought I was blown away by the input. There are so many great ideas and so much engagement throughout the morning. And it's really nice to see that there's quite a close-knit community as well at Macdonald. I think personally, I actually went to McGill as well, but I was at the downtown campus. And I think what struck me when I first came from Ottawa, which is, like a smaller city and a greener city, was how sort of spread out everything felt at McGill. And it sounds like, by contrast, Macdonald has a really close-knit, really green, really connected kind of community. And so it sounds like sort of its own unique feeling there, and it sounds also like that unique feeling is really appreciated amongst all the students. So a bit envious that I didn't get to go to Macdonald more, but yeah, it's been a really great day for me, a real challenge to capture all of this, both leading up to the sessions and the sessions today. But it's a real honor to be included in this celebration that so many of you are sharing in for your school. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jordana, for all the good work you've done and the work in the upcoming days as we finalize those beautiful illustrations. You've really helped us to make our campus come alive, and we're so appreciative.
It's a real pleasure. So thank you.
So it's now my honor to invite our Dean, Anya Geitman, to say a few words in respect of Founders Day. And I'll just go back, Anya, to the slides that you see in front of you and invite Anya to speak on behalf of the faculty.
Thanks a lot, Professor Humphries. I'm actually going to take one word that you started out in the beginning with and segue from there, and that is the vision. Our founder and the vision is almost bigger than the founder. And maybe to start with, if you wanted to unshare your screen, then people could actually see what's behind my own background, because I have a few pictures there. So I'm going to start, of course, with a picture of Sir William Macdonald. How could I not? And if you wanted to see that better, you might want to put me in speaker view too. So how did we get from a single person to an entire campus with thousands of students? Let's take ourselves back by more than 100 years. So William Macdonald, of course, as we all know, was a great industrialist and a leading philanthropist. So he wanted to put his money to good purpose, and his greatest cause really was education. He actually served as the 4th chancellor of the university as well, and was definitely one of the biggest benefactors to the institution in those early years. And back in the 1890s and early 1900s, so we're talking 120 years ago, he did support the faculties of law, engineering. He supported the Department of Physics, architecture, all of which, of course, are on the downtown campus. And I think even more importantly, he realized that university and studies is not only work. You also need recreation and an environment to do that. And so he was very much involved in setting up the first student union at McGill, a building that is now actually the McCourt Museum. And so that is a building that he was involved in, and it was opened in 1906. So how did he get from his passion for education to a campus at Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue? Such a vision doesn't just get created overnight, right? You don't go to sleep and wake up the next morning with the idea to set up a huge campus. So how did this happen? And so in order for that to understand, we need to go back even further. So about 10 years earlier, in the mid-90s, of the 1890s, of course, he met somebody who made a huge difference for him, and that was James Wilson Robertson, who later became the first principal of Macdonald College. Now, Robertson was born in Scotland, and he immigrated to Canada as a child. And he started his career as an assistant manager of a cheese factory. So he was very much involved in making food or transforming food. And he was actually fascinated by the fact that the quality of food depended on several factors. And these included not only the cheese maker, but the quality of the milk. And the quality of milk, of course, depends on the health of the cow. And the health of the cow depends on the quality of the fodder. And the fodder, of course, depends on the richness of the soil. So he very much saw that interlinkage between the soil, the animal health, and the eventual outcome, the cheese product. And so he was dedicated really to improving food quality by importing better strains of cattle or swine for other purposes, and better devices for creameries and cheese factories. And I do have a picture of him here. Actually, this is James Robertson. And in 1886, Robertson was then appointed as professor of dairying or dairy husbandry at the Ontario Agricultural College, which we all know is, of course, in Ontario, not in Quebec. And in 1890, he became the first dairy commissioner for Canada. And he was actually responsible to convince railways to run refrigerated cars once a week so that milk or cheese or butter wouldn't be spoiled. And so very much an interest that we still have today, of course, in our Department of Food Science, where we are concerned with food safety. Now, when did these two individuals meet? That was probably in 1897, so about 10 years before Macdonald campus was founded. They met probably at an experimental farm in Ottawa, and Macdonald, so William, was impressed by Robertson's achievements and asked him whether they could set up an institution, and I cite, to take in boys at age of 7 and to keep them until they were 21. And then to send them out as educational leaders in rural areas. This was the Roman Catholic schools at the time in the province of Quebec. And Robertson replied dryly that, and I cite, mothers might spare their sons for 14 years to serve the church, but never to become farmers. And so despite that hesitation in the beginning, they went on to do great things. But how did all this start? They actually, 2 years after meeting each other, they set up a competition where they offered $100 at the time, a lot of money, to encourage, and I cite again, boys and girls on their father's farm to pick the best heads out of the standing crops of wheat and oats. Just in parentheses, we'll notice there's two things here. First of all, girls were included in this, so that's great. But second of all, the farms were clearly only owned by their fathers and not mothers. But I digress. So the children were supposed to send these heads of wheat and oats to Ottawa, and then the best 100, the most heavy in terms of size and number of kernels and weight of grain, would win these $100. And they ran these competitions several years. And it turned out after several years, in 1903, the final seeds were actually 28% bigger than the initial seeds. So through this competition, they illustrate that crops could be bred through the systematic selection. And they didn't only do that in a research scientific wise, but they did do that through the involvement of the general public, so to say, and more importantly, through children. And so very inspiring. Eventually, they did partner in setting up a program in manual training for boys and girls in selected urban schools. And they were inspired to do this by models that they had seen in other countries, among others in Britain and in Sweden. And one of these consolidated schools, called the Protestant Day School of Saint-Anne-de-Bellevue, then became Macdonald College. In order to do so, Sir William actually bought half a dozen farms and town lots in order to create this contiguous piece of land on which the college was built. And if all works well, I'm going to show you these an early picture of that scene. And Macdonald College was really his grand dream, but Sir William was also obsessed with the quality of buildings. And so a total of 4,000 tons of steel went into these buildings in order to make them incredibly safe and solid and sturdy, fortunately for us today, I guess. And as you all know, in 1907, Macdonald College opened its doors, and at that first cohort, which, as was already mentioned earlier on, consisted of 3 disciplines: agriculture, household science, and teachers. There were 200 students at that time. And these students, what was really important at the time already was the dedication to hands-on learning. Right. And that dedication we have today as well. We're very dedicated to hands-on learning as well, and to making the experience that goes an experience that goes beyond the classroom, and that gives students the experience that they need in order to get a real job later on. And that was actually very inspiring when I saw earlier the pictures that were drawn by our artist, Jordana Globerman, based on the input that was provided by the Macdonald community, many of whom I think were students, is that they see what they like to see in the next 10 years. So that vision that was started and initiated more than 100 years ago is ongoing. We're continuously building the campus, we're continuously building the programs, and that is something that is truly integral to an educational institution, and in particular to Macdonald campus, I believe. To finish, I just wanted to mention again, indeed, that Sir William's legacy is today overseen by the Macdonald Stewart Foundation. And on behalf of the entire campus community, I would like to thank especially Bruce Bolton, who is here with us today all the way from Florida. He will, and today is really special because it is his last official participation at the event as the executive director of the Macdonald Stewart Foundation. And for me, the times that we have shared Founders Day will be among the most memorable of my career, simply because I have had the privilege to be piped into the room by Bruce Bolton playing. And that is something more memorable than that I cannot imagine in my service as Dean. Thank you to Bruce for not only the many years of service for the foundation, but for the many things that you have done for this campus and for creating this particularly special memory for myself, in fact. I also welcome the new Associate Director, of course, Thomas Leslie, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting him as well. And to wrap it up, I truly would like to thank all the individuals who have contributed to today's event. One individual who will speak after me is Paul Meldrum, and him too I would like to greet with both, as we say in German, a laughing and a crying eye, because for him too, in his official current role as farm manager, it will be the last time he joins this event in that role. And I hope for both, for Bruce and Paul, that they will join this event in future, of course. Paul will retire at the end of April, so I salute him as well. I do thank, of course, Elder Amelia McGregor and Professor Juliana Globerman for the wonderful beginning that we had to this ceremony. I do thank Jordana Globerman for the absolutely spectacular drawings that I'm very much looking forward to the final products, as well as seeing them displayed in our hallways. And finally, thank you, Professor Humphries, as well as the entire committee of the Founders Day organizational structure who made this event happen today. So the word is, and the microphone goes back to Professor Humphries, and thank you very much to all of you for joining today's event.
Thank you so much, Dean Geitman, for those words. And as Dean Geitman indicated, I'll go back to sharing a screen, and we'll be now passing ceremony over to Paul Meldrum for an important announcement. But before I do, I'll share with the Dean's words of congratulations to Paul and thanks. Somebody asked me at the table this morning about some of my input for some of these panels, and one word that would describe Macdonald to me, and the word I said was community. And I think they may have said, well, everybody says that, and said that's fine. But when I say the word community, it means a lot to me. And Paul is one of the many individuals that in good times and bad made this place feel like home, and a place full of support and full of compassion and caring for young and old. So Paul's been a long time contributor to Founders Day and MC for the ceremony. And so it's a real thrill to have him here today presenting an award. And thanks, Paul, for all you've done and all you'll continue to do for our campus. So over to Paul.
Thank you, Murray, and thank you, Anya, Dean Geitman. I'm going to do my best to behave myself, being it's the last time I'm going to be appearing on Founders Day. I have nothing to lose, and I could really, so I'll put the filters on, let's put it that way. And I'm not wearing my kilt today. I always felt it was dangerous to wear the kilt at Founders Day because of the FMT students and their propensity to try and flick the kilt up. But I had Bruce Bolton there as support with his kilt, so I didn't feel so alone. I'm just thrilled to be able to make this presentation. It's the Macdonald Campus Award of Excellence for administrative and support staff. And when you think of people being nominated, I'm sure all of us could put 20 to 30 names up there who would be deserving recipients of this award. So a heck of a challenge for the committee to single out one person every year. But I am tickled pink that this year they have singled out Nancy Leving, who is the farm administrator, has been the farm administrator for 26 years, someone I've worked with for the last, well, all the 18 years that I've been here, so closely, in fact, that I sometimes refer to her as my work wife. I have to stress the work wife thing. I'm not going to go through all the list of her achievements because we would be here until 7 o'clock this evening. It's more about who Nancy is and the way she's treated people. And Murray mentioned community, and everyone speaks community, but Jordana, I think it was your loss that you didn't get out to Mac more often, or maybe even at all when you were at McGill, because this really is the gem of McGill University. Everybody, if you don't know the person's name, when you're walking around campus, you recognize faces, and people actually say hello to each other and might stop and talk and discuss more than the weather. But Nancy is pretty much an institution here at the farm, and I believe at Mac. She is the first person that you'll greet when you ask for anything of the farm, and there are many requests of the farm. Nancy answers all those requests, not just as part of her duty, but with a smile, with exuberance and enthusiasm, and an incredible enthusiasm to serve, which has not diminished in the 26 years that she's been at the farm. Now, let's not forget that prior to coming to the farm, she was also, was it 13 years? My math's not good. 39 minus 26, what is that? 4, 9, 13. 13 years at McGill before coming to the farm in, I think, printing services. And my favorite nameplate, which tells you a lot about Nancy, in that she kept this, she was in charge of conferences and special events and alcoholic beverage control, which I think she exercises to this day in my office from time to time. But she's been at the farm for 26 years, seen a lot of changes. She's the person who organizes labs and coordinates labs and all the different times for professors and TAs and students, helps with research. As I said, she's done a lot of things for students and for the staff, and in particular the student staff. We get a lot of students who work here at the farm, and Nancy makes sure that they're paid, and she's always the one pushing me. Long before there was a union for the students, before I knew, she said, these students aren't getting paid enough, Paul. They're working terrible hours, hard, and hot weather, and you need to treat them better. So she pushed me a little bit on that way. Now they have a muse who just signed a great deal for the students, and we've got to find the money now to pay them. But she's always been very good at making sure that people are well treated and are served well. And I guess she embodies that whole thing of mastery for service that was started by Sir William. I did mention that she's one of the reasons I call her my work wife is she takes care of me. She also knows when to push me, when to prod me. I'm not going to use the word nag, because if it's nagging, it means I deserve it. But she also knows when to take care of me. For instance, even today, I trouble with this piece of fashion that they call a tie, and I'm more of the Tim Gary school that says this: whoever invented something that you wrap around your neck and pull tight until you can hardly breathe and your face turns red should have been put in an insane asylum. But anyway, Nancy, even today, before going on, made sure that my tie was straight and was nice underneath the shirt. Years ago, when I was putting in some insane hours in a particularly difficult fall on the farm, Nancy was afraid that I was, because I live about an hour from the farm, that I was going to fall asleep going home. So she came to me and she said, Paul, I bought us a bed. And my eyes kind of popped. She bought us a bed. And then she realized what she said. And she said, I bought a futon so that you have a place to sleep if you're here at midnight and you're too tired to go home. Because she says, if I invite you home to my place to stay overnight, the tongues will wag. But it does indicate just to the depth of caring that she went out and bought a futon and put it in the conference room and said, you need to stay there if you're too tired. I will say as well, the first time I put on the kilt, which Nancy jokingly calls my quilt, I had to get her to help adjust it, adjust the bow tie, make sure things were straight. So yeah, she does more than goes far above and beyond what any administrator should have to endure. And she's endured 18 years of me. The other thing is I noticed with Nancy is when she throws herself into a job, it is full bore. There's no halfway with Nancy. It's go big or go home. So when we did open houses with the UPA and with the town of St. Anne, she was in there like a dirty shirt. But when we took on more departments at the farm, the lodge and the horticulture center, she helped make that transition easy. When we re-implemented the educational tours, it was Nancy who canvassed all the schools and the school boards in the greater Montreal area, developed a pamphlet, had the photography done, went to a printer, mailed out all those pamphlets years after years. She coerced the Milk Producers Federation into giving free chocolate milk. All these things Nancy took on. I didn't have to say, Nancy, I think you should do this, do this. Basically, Nancy came to me and said, this is what we're doing. And I, as a dutiful work husband, said, yep, sure, sounds good to me. And it all worked marvelously well. And now we are, that leads us into the upcoming Community Engagement Center. So Nancy was an integral part of that, and she will be able to look at this new building with pride when we have now a beautiful center to welcome the public and school children onto Macdonald campus. The other thing I noticed is that Nancy treats the farm, as all farms do, as if it's her own. But in Nancy's case, Nancy's in charge of the money. She's the one who is making sure the bills are paid, making sure that I don't overspend or don't overspend a whole lot more than I would like to. And she's also the one who is collecting money that's owed to the farm. So when that comes about, usually about another 3 weeks from now in March, Nancy turns into a bit of an animal. And I kid you not, this is what she puts on her door as a warning to all that Nancy is now in the process of trying to balance the budget and collect bills, and beware, because if you owe money, she's coming after you. And if you happen to knock on the door and it's not been a good day, beware, you might find the tigers behind the door in action. All it says to me is that she goes far above and beyond what would be expected, and she cares. You can't ask for more than that. Someone who cares about their job and cares about the people with whom they work is an employee that is gold and is not under every stone. So with that, I would like to just express my thanks to Nancy, my personal thanks, and thanks on behalf of all the students, the professors, your colleagues at work and your colleagues across campus for your contribution and the fact that you have made Macdonald a better place because of you being here. I'm going to present you with this lovely plaque. You can see that. But you'll bear with me. Nancy is in the office right next to me, so I'm actually going to do this in person. And to keep all the bureaucrats happy, I'll go over to Nancy's office.
I can't get up. I have a.
Bonjour, madame.
Bonjour.
So where's your camera? Voilà. So bienvenue, Nancy, à ton travail.
And also a token of our appreciation. You can open it.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much. You know you're a comedian, eh? He had me going all week. All week. I was blushing because I never know what he's going to say. But it's been a long hurdle. I've been at McDonald for 39 years. And I'm really honored to receive this award. Thank you. Whoops, I could take off my mask. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and congratulations for your incredible career and service. And thanks for all you do to this campus on behalf of the Founders Day and the entire campus community. And thanks, Paul, for such a funny and entertaining and sincere thanks for the work that Nancy's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, with that, and you'll see now that we've featured on, Jordana has featured Nancy as the 2022 recipient of the Award of Excellence for Administrative and Support Staff with the show ring in behind, symbolic of the farm and one of the original buildings on the farm, as I understand. So congratulations, Nancy. It's now my honor to invite Laura Whittabal and Juliana from MCSS to present the Gold Key Awards.
Yes, thank you, Murray. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So in order to continue with the recognition of people who contribute so much to life on our campus, it's our pleasure as co-chairs of the Gold Key Award Committee for Juliana and I to present to you today this year's recipients of the Gold Key Award. So this award is given to worthy students in recognition of their outstanding contribution to the enrichment of student life at Macdonald campus. They must show leadership and excellence in the promotion and development of extracurricular activities to the benefit of the Macdonald community as a whole. Their level of involvement, their leadership, ability to work with peers, and the continuity of their initiatives are also considered. This year's selection committee received a total of 20 nominees for the Gold Key Award. So this demonstrates the great resiliency and the high level of engagement shown by our students at Macdonald campus, despite a global pandemic. So now let us congratulate the recipients of the 2022 Gold Key Award. Antoine Bouvier, U3 student in bioresource engineering. Eager to share his passion for 3D printing with the Macdonald community, Antoine revived and expanded the Mac 3D Printing Club into a viable and forward-looking venture, showing an entrepreneurial spirit which now benefits many students and clubs at Macdonald campus. Thank you, Antoine, and congratulations. Sean Clark, U3 student in bioresource engineering. Resourceful and creative in his roles as VP Finance in both the Bioresource Engineering Student Society and the Macdonald Campus Student Society now, Sean has found ways to increase funding for student projects and clubs while also improving accessibility and equity in its allocation to the benefit of all Macdonald students. Thank you, Sean, and congratulations. Chloe Garzon, a U3 student in human nutrition. A compassionate and considerate leader, Chloe is the proud president of the Macdonald Bring Your Own Bulk Group, as well as the Macdonald Campus Student Society. These opportunities allow her to engage with students, clubs, and societies on our campus and help them to flourish. She also enjoys her work as a Tomlinson Engagement Award member team in organic chemistry, where she helps students by using innovative learning methods. Thank you very much, Chloe, and congratulations. Anthony Ighanier, a PhD candidate in bioresource engineering. Creative and hardworking, Anthony is dedicated to helping his fellow students at Macdonald campus. Winner of the Macdonald Campus 3MT competition in 2019, he has continued to work with the Lister Family Foundation as well as teaching and learning services to help students improve their communication skills. And as an international student buddy, he advises new students and helps them to helps them to integrate at Mac. For MCGSS, he has worked to help engage all graduate students by organizing events including graduate orientation and other social activities. Thank you, Anthony, and congratulations. Christina Masdosi, PhD candidate in Natural Resource Sciences. Visionary and inspiring, Christina works to engage her fellow students at Mac campus with their environment relating to agriculture, social equity, and sustainability. She does this through her active involvement in the Mcdonald Permaculture Showcase Garden, the Women Plus in Science Group, and the Sustainability of Operations at Mcdonald Campus Task Force. Thank you, Christina, and congratulations. Sharvani Ram, a U3 student in food science and agricultural chemistry. A cognizant community leader, Sharvani has been involved in many campus-wide groups and initiatives where her passion in fostering a sense of community and student engagement at Mcdonald campus are strongly evident. She's especially proud of her work as president of the Dietetics and Human Nutrition Undergraduate Society, where she has worked to develop a peer-led mentorship program and panel discussions to raise awareness about competencies and cultural humility. Thank you, Sharvani, and congratulations. So here we have our 6 Gold Key Award recipients for 2022. On behalf of the Mcdonald campus community, we extend our heartfelt thanks to all of you. Thank you for your hard work and your dedication. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for that, and congratulations to all the Gold Key recipients. And we're honored to include your names on the People of Mcdonald Campus 2022 as representatives of the wonderful group of graduate students and postdocs and undergraduate students that make our campus the place it is. With that, we've brought our short ceremony to closure. We'll just pass for a closing to Amelia and Trina. And just before we do, just want to thank again, the campus, the students, the staff that make this place it is, the members of the Founders Day Committee for all their work in supporting and creating this day. We hope these panels that are celebrating who we are and where we're going in the future will be, as we said at the start of the presentation, just a beginning of our exploration of how to do better for each other and for the world that is around us. So thank you, everyone. And I'll pass it to Trina and Amelia for a closing.
Thank you, Murray. Congratulations to all the award recipients and for this really inspiring ceremony. I'm glad that we are participating this afternoon. And then I'm just going to turn it over to Amelia, who's going to say our closing words. Like I said, she's going to unbind our minds that she brought together at the beginning. And once she's done, the ceremony will be over. So thank you all. Have a good afternoon.
Okay, so what can you say? You can go you watch out the road. Just good tenant that the Wadaso honor the Ohenten Kariwatekan one next to next to honor Wagwasa Giga Tuma Ga Square and Yana Jinja Quigo, you got 200 and Hoda or Ditara Negiga Garun Square. Then only Onexia Kanadugi Tinista, you want other Ginori was got Cindy, Aguego Jakutka, one Nega Guy and a Yukori Wake. And I always joke there to where we are at the Square, this only Yana Tinti, Aguego, the Suquawine, Scar, Ganigo Liu, and on a Cassat Stancer, and what's the joke there now? Giga Gano, Lunes, Kanienke'há. Togazo what to that sige on a wado, San Hoto Kika Goyo, Kujato Rolo, Tuka Seguka, Jokno, that what that Kotana. I always great because what's go to I saw a dagari take only you 20 order wagatari what's queni. Now what you was got a musade. They go to the Utah stano, the discareva can the guitar order. Now,
Amelia. Okay. On you are here.
All right. You gotta know how to get a feather. I think around.